And we are live. How exciting! Oh my goodness, you guys. We have the best show ever tonight. We're so excited to have somebody here that's going to be introduced by Cara. So I'm going to throw it right over to Cara to introduce everybody right now.
Everyone, good evening. I'm so glad that we are
Hello.
back. And I am so excited to have Jason Bradford here. He is an amazing podcast interviewer. He actually interviewed me. It'll be up probably in the week or so. But
Yes.
he has the Terror Express podcast, and he interviews celebrities from the horror genre, and they talk about paranormal experiences they've had and real life experiences too. I met Jason through 13 Fanboy, and of course he is absolutely amazing with working with production on that. And um, he his Terror Express podcast is on iHeartRadio. It is on YouTube, Radio Amazon, Apple Music. Is it Apple Music Podcast? Is that how I always
Yep.
get
Yeah.
those
I
confused?
Apple
Okay,
Podcast. Yeah.
and Pandora, and also Facebook. So, Jason, I know you have a lot of huge ghostly stories to tell us and your personal experiences. I am looking forward to hearing them. We are going to do our fact or fiction first so that the audience has the story, um, so that they can vote on it during the show and see if it's, something real or if it's something that is total BS in my head. So, tonight's fact or fiction deals with some spooky children. There was a huge school which handled uh, two smaller farming communities, and it was built in the 1880s, and it was actually 3 stories. It was a huge, beautiful brick building. Of course, the inside, is made of not drywall. It's made of the oh my gosh, that nasty plaster of Paris, like the plaster. And the schoolrooms were really crowded. We're talking 40 to 50 kids in each classroom. And one day, around right after lunch, the kids were, getting ready. A lot of them were doing their arithmetic. A lot of them were doing their writing on the chalkboards and things. When smoke filled the hallways of the building, black, thick smoke filled the hallways, and um, the teachers, they didn't have fire drills or anything back now. Mind you, this is like the 1920s. They hadn't started the whole fire drill thing, fire escapes. Those things kind of were not, especially in a rural community grammar school. And so there were kids from kindergarten to 8th grade in this schoolroom or these classrooms. Um, Most of the kindergartners and up to like 3rd grade were on like the first floor. So it was pretty easy for them, for the teachers, even through the black smoke, to get them out. They were dumping them out windows. They were taking them through hallways that weren't completely engulfed in the smoke. But the children, unfortunately, on the second and third floors were trapped. And some of them jumped down hoping that they would only break a leg or something. Um, but it didn't turn out that way. A lot of them landed on the concrete below and had traumatic injuries. So out of the 400 children that went to this school, over 200 of them died that day, and about 20 teachers. So it was very, very tragic, very sad. Um, and they found the source of the fire. It was one of the boilers. It was a newer system that they weren't used to for heating the schools, and it wasn't connected right. And there was a minor explosion in the basement, and it caused a huge firewall to just form, and it just ate the school up. The wooden stairs, everything were just engulfed in flames so fast. Um, but let's fast forward about 5 years. They had rebuilt the school. Um, the brick facade survived, so they rebuilt the school. But when they reopened it, very, very strange things were happening, especially on the second and the third floor. um, they would hear children's cries. They would hear, sometimes they'd hear laughter. Lights would flicker on and off in classrooms, and the teachers would get angry and think that students were pulling a prank on them. But no, the lights were going on and off by themselves. Um, as um, as the students started getting more, anxious about being in these classrooms, um, they started looking into it. They didn't have, this was, now we're in the early 30s. They didn't have like paranormal groups and stuff, but they did bring in a priest who blessed the school. Um, and they thought that that would take care of it. They hung up crucifixes in some of the rooms that had more stuff, but that kind of just made things worse. They eventually had to close the school because people were pulling their children out and driving them 15 or 20 miles away, because they couldn't handle their children coming home terrified or having nightmares at home because they would get knocked down when they were trying to go down the stairs, and all these different things. They could feel people touching them. Cold hands is how the kids described it. And even teachers didn't want to work in the school. So they eventually closed it, and it was reduced to rubble, and they rebuilt a two-story school, which was much wider, and but it was laid out, stretched out more, so they didn't need a third floor. Um, and that school did not have the same hauntings. There were no ghosts that were seen standing in the hall and pointing to exits and things like that. Um, and children weren't being, followed at home or feeling that something is like lingering on them. So, but that is my fact or fiction, and you have to tell me if you believe that it is a true story or if you believe that it came out of my twisted little mind.
I agree with Helen, by the way. I don't know. I
You
think it's
think, what do
true.
you think it is?
I agree with Helen. I believe it's true as
You think
well.
it's true?
I do.
All right, well, you guys keep voting. Now, Jason, what is the first story that you have for us?
Well, I came prepared with two stories. The first story is I'll do them in order from the time that they happened. The first story, I was driving from Westland to Lansing, which is it's a couple hours drive. I was going to meet someone, and it was um, kind of a first date, one night stand kind of thing, if you will. So, so I got to his place, and I went up to his apartment, and he opened the door, and there was candles burning everywhere. It looked kind of like very Sissy Spacek and Carrie when she came home from the prom. It was like that. I think the gentleman was trying to be romantic, but it was kind of a little unsettling. But I went in because I was young and horny and stupid, and one thing led to another, and I ended up in his room. And this won't be a very detailed story, but I ended up in his room, and I walked in, and there was a deep freezer with a padlock, a chain and padlock on it. And walking down his hallway to get to his room, he had like power drills and saws and all these tools lined up down the hallway. And the end table next to his bed had mason jars, and it was just really creepy. And this was post Dahmer, so this was definitely. I know he's big right now with Netflix, but so anyway, back to the story. He goes, "You have such beautiful eyes." And he's tracing his thumb under my eyes. All I could think was, please don't put my eyes in your mason jar.
Oh,
So so I I mean, I was so uneasy. I just said, you know what, I'm really not feeling well. I apologize. How about if we, can we maybe do this next Friday? And he was very, in tune with me and said, yeah, that'd be great. And I left, and I thought, holy shit, was this a serial killer? But that's when things actually took a turn for the paranormal, the supernatural. I'm at the gas station. I had just left his apartment complex, like not 2 minutes from it. I get a flat tire. I'm driving a caravan. And I thought, okay, shit, I gotta pull in. I have to get some fix a flat. I have to do something to get, it's more than a 2 hour drive back to where I live. So I run in, I get fix a flat. It doesn't work. I'm the only person in this gas station. It's probably about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to just put the flat or put the donut on. So I jack up the caravan, and I'm getting the donut out, and I hear behind me, do you need any help with that? And it's a young woman's voice, so it sounds. And I without turning around, I say no, thank you. And then that was when I turn around and I see Sally Field standing there, the actress. And of course, it wasn't really Sally Field. It's just this was a young woman who looked identical to Sally Field, Cannonball Run years. And I thought, wow, that's so odd, And I turn back around and I hear her say, when you're driving home, just keep it under 55 miles an hour and you'll be safe. You'll make it home back to Westland. And I thought, wow, how do you know I live in Westland? So I turned around to ask her, how do you know I live in Westland? And she's gone. She's not there. Completely empty. All you can hear is the sodium vapor lights humming. So I immediately ran around the gas station because now I'm freaked out. There has to be a logical explanation. Where did this young lady go? She's not there. I go into the gas station. I asked the gentleman who told me to fix a flat, there was a young lady here who looked like Sally Field, denim skirt, jacket. She was and he says, no, there's been no one in here since you came in to buy the fix a flat. So I'm beside myself. I'm scratching my chin, wondering what just happened. I get the donut back on and I get on the freeway, and her voice is with me all the way home. Keep it under 55, you'll make it home safe. So I did. I kept it between 50 and 55 all the way home. And as soon as I pulled into my driveway, when I finally reached home, I got out, I walked around, and I noticed that the other tire was now flat. It was completely shredded. And all I could think was, if I had gone faster than the 55 that Sally Field had told me, I would have had a blowout, and I could have flipped. I may have hit another car.
Yeah.
I may have gone over the side. But so to this day, I know I have a guardian angel, and she looks a hell of a lot like Sally Field.
Oh
And
my
I've heard her
gosh.
Real,
It's
I've
real
heard her
quick,
voice
amazing.
guys.
since.
Cara just told me they are restarting her internet. It crashed. That's
Mm,
why she disappeared on us, but she will be
Okay.
okay,
back.
okay. So,
That is amazing. And the funny thing to me when you said that she looked like Sally Field, when I bring in spirits, sometimes they'll come in as an old movie star, something like
mm.
that, somebody that I recognize, and then they morph into what they look like. And so that is,
You know, and
hi, Kara, you're back.
I am with the weather we're having, the internet went down, and my son had to restart the router.
So Jason, that was
thank you.
amazing, and it
And
truly was
I
saved your
think
life.
I think what you said. I think they may look like somebody that we can relate to so that
Mhm.
they don't freak us
Yeah,
out, because I
right.
do like Sally Field. I really like Sally Field,
Hmm.
and I think maybe that you know I
Yeah,
think
it
what you
does.
said
They'll
is
they'll
makes a
come
really good
in
point.
as somebody I know, and or sometimes when I saw this person that was English, he came in as Terry Thomas, and he
Hmm.
had this space between his teeth, so I understood that he was English. So it's interesting that that didn't frighten you because it looked like Sally. It's
No, what frightened
amazing.
me is when Sally disappeared into thin air.
Yeah, that would be kind of wait. But
Yeah,
I'm now
exactly.
I'm
Where did she
curious
go?
though.
Yes.
Did you find out that air quotation one night stand turned out to be a serial killer? What was the
I
deal with the chained
I
up ice
I did
chest and
not.
stuff?
I remember excuse me. I remember his name was John. I never reached back out to him. I had no intention of going back the following Friday. I
Right.
never heard from him again. This was back before like AOL chat rooms, before MySpace. So there was this thing called Metro Magazine that had 800 numbers on the back, or 900 numbers, or whatever. You paid by the minute, or. And so it was a blind call. I didn't see him. He didn't see me. He said he looked like a young Burt Reynolds. I got there. He looked like a not a young Burt Reynolds.
You got catfished, in other words.
Nothing
I did.
changes.
I did. I got catfished. Yes, before catfish was a term. Yes.
Well, that was to me super scary. And you
Yeah.
probably
Yeah. It was,
dodged a bullet there as well as with the tire. And
or a
people are
hacksaw.
commenting what amazing, awesome story that was.
Hmm,
Yeah,
thank
it
you.
reminded me a total Dahmer-esque. My brother actually met Dahmer in one of the Chicago bars he used to troll.
Hmm.
So, yeah, you guys both really, I mean, dodged a bullet, it sounds like.
Of course, now I would never like just meet someone and go to a stranger's apartment. I was young and dumb, but I back then it was the thing to do. I-
I was
You know.
always terrified. I always had, my dad said, always trust your gut.
Yeah.
And my dad, I didn't have to have my gut. I had my dad in my ear going, is this really a smart thing?
Well,
So it,
I did call my ex-wife before I drove to Lansing, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to this place. Here's the address. Here's his phone number. Here's his name. If I don't call you by a certain time, this is the last person who saw me alive. Make sure you get this information into the right hands." So
And my
Yeah.
eyeballs might be floating in a mason jar.
exactly, yes, my eyeballs may have been in a mason jar, and the rest of me may have been in this deep freezer.
Oh, God,
yeah,
that's scary.
very scary, very scary.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that was, I missed a little bit of the story at the end, but I'm going to have to rewatch since I got knocked off. But what's your next scary encounter with the supernatural?
Well, I've had scary encounters. I've really quick. I'll actually segue into a different one, but I did see this one spirit who did materialize to me 3 times in my teenage years. The first time I saw him, I was staying the night at my sister's house, and I was on my nephew's bed, and there was no box or there was no frame. It was just box spring mattress, and I rolled over and I looked, and there was a guy laying on the ground with a hatchet in his forehead, and his mouth was open, and his eyes were wide. And obviously, I was very young, and it scared the shit out of me to the point where I said, okay, I woke my sister up, my brother-in-law, and I said, you got to take me home. I'm not staying here. Anyway, I saw him again. A couple years later, I was watching television. I saw his reflection in the TV light. He was walking up behind me.
Oh
And when
my
I turned
God.
around, and I knew it was him, it was very distinct. His face was very distinct, and he was gone when I turned around. And then shortly after that, I was walking down the sidewalk in my neighborhood, and on the other side of the road, walking toward me, was this same guy. So I saw him a few. Oh, there was a time in a carnival too at the base of a Ferris wheel. I saw him. So I saw him 4 times. So,
Do you,
but the other story that I would like to tell was I have been shown a room in heaven, and that was very unforgettable, and it's changed the way I view things. You know how they say the Lord is looking down on you and your loved
yeah.
ones watch over you? I've been to the room in heaven where they do that.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was quite the experience.
Oh, I'd love to hear that. I would absolutely love to hear
Well,
that.
my sister passed away in 2020, and about a year and a half, about a year and a half ago, shortly after she passed away, she came to me, and it started out like a dream, but I know it wasn't a dream. And she took me and showed me, pieces of heaven. And she took me into this room, and I swear it was like you're walking down the hallway, and there's a door, and you open it, and then you're just into this universe. It's very hard to describe. It's not like something that we would ever see here. So I walk in, and I can feel the ground underneath me, but when I look down, there was nothing. It was like you're in this open space, and even though you're floating, you don't feel like you're floating, but you're
Right.
looking out into like these Milky Way full of stars, universe, if you will, and all these stars are brilliant and they're gorgeous. And she explained to me that these are not stars that you're seeing. These are the people who are still alive that knew you when you were in the living, and they light up when they think of you. And the more their emotions are, whether they're upset or happy, whether they're giving birth or there's a wedding or a funeral, when their emotions are at a peak in one direction or the other, the stars burn brighter. So that's how your loved one knows when you're upset or when you're happy, and they know to be there with you at those times. Or if there's a group of people talking about that person who passed away, all their stars will light up, and they'll be able to watch. And the way she showed me they watch the best way I can describe it again, because we have nothing to compare it to, was imagine a room full of television screens, and each screen represents a place, a person who's thinking of you. And you can see it, and you can be a part of it, and you can interact. But you can watch all these different screens all at once. So if you got 500 people that knew you in life all at the same time thinking about you, which I suppose you'd have to be a celebrity for that to happen, but you could pay specific attention to each one of those screens and know in explicit detail what was being said and what was going on. Kind of like your particles are expanding into different places, but they're reporting back to one central being, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that was what she showed me, and even in, let's say when you were two, the little girl down the street that you only met once or twice, or a person in the crowd who you made eye contact with, maybe you bumped this woman and you just said you're sorry, and that was the only time in your entire life you saw them. They would even have a star in your universe, to where maybe 5 years after you pass away, maybe she might bump into someone else and it would remind her of the time she bumped into you, and then you would know that even that person was thinking of you. So every single person that you met while you were alive, from the day you were born to the day you died, has a star. And there was
Wow.
and I wish I had written her name down. There was an artist, a little girl who saw visions of heaven when she was 8 years old, and she started painting pictures of Christ. And these pictures are stunning. They're beautiful. And I thought, when my sister first took me to this room and showed me how they can watch over us, I thought, I better not tell anybody. I don't want to get my sister in trouble. That's like a huge secret, you know. And then I'm at work one day with a coworker, and we're looking at pictures, and this artist, this young girl, her art popped up, and there was one where she had a picture of the universe, all these stars, you know, like Milky Ways, and Jesus was kneeling down like he was floating in air, and I knew that place. That was the place that my sister had taken me to. And she had painted quite a few versions of that. So I
Oh,
knew right away what she was painting, and I thought, well, if this young girl is painting her visions and what she has seen, it's got to be okay to talk about it. So if not, Tracy, I'm really sorry I got you in trouble, but I'm talking about it.
I think this was the girl here that I found, and
Yes, yes, that is her. That is her. If you look at her work, and I was gonna write her name down, and I got preoccupied with stuff that shouldn't have been preoccupied with, but I wanted to bring that. Yes, that is her. She is
that is
phenomenal.
so
Her artwork is
amazing.
amazing.
And the stuff is fabulous. But if I could just kind of throw in here, when you started talking about that, it reminded me of an old movie with Shirley Temple called The Bluebird of Happiness. And
Hmm.
whenever you thought of someone, they like reanimated. Grandma was there and everything.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
they do say that we're all connected. We are
Hmm.
connected. So
Hmm.
that's so neat because we like to hear those stories when people say they go to heaven, or Edgar Casey, going up to the records and things, and what it looks like up there. So
Yeah.
that I haven't heard that one, so I just love that.
Well, I'm
I
glad I
have
could
to
bring you
tell you,
something new.
you and I talked about in our podcast about my brother and the death of my brother.
Hmm.
And, I don't think you realize this, but you just gave me so much comfort. I told you for 21 years I
Good.
have been
Good.
unable to finish the grieving process. And to know that he has at least one light constantly lit, because there's never a day that goes by that I'm not thinking
Yeah.
of him,
Yeah.
that's a great comfort.
And it's
It really is.
definitely lit right now, because you're not just thinking of him, but you're talking about him. And if he's ever met Debbie or Brandy, or if I had ever met him, then our stars also would be lit up.
Yeah, it's amazing. That is a joyous supernatural story. That is amazing. I mean, I've had where he has come to me in like dreams. Like I told you, when I get really high fevers, I sometimes I
Hmm.
can hallucinate and things. And I was really sick, and my son was like telling my mom to call an ambulance because there was something wrong with me.
Hmm.
And I guess I was hallucinating and I was talking to the wall, and I don't remember everything I was saying, but I guess I was asking my brother to forgive me for not being there when he died, because I promised him that, but
Yeah.
I felt a sense of When the fever finally broke, I felt a sense that he was there, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. And I think also because you were in that fever delirious state where your mind wasn't completely grounded in health. I think that also opens us up a little bit more to be a little more susceptible to their communication and their messages and seeing and hearing from them. Now, Kara, I know a lot of people, we have the ability, like as a sensitive or a medium or a psychic or empath or whatever your abilities may be, the people who may not be as in tune or people who aren't as open to that or even don't believe in that, they can still be communicated with. But like I said, it's as you just pointed out through your fever or when they're asleep. It's usually when they're asleep because that's when they're most open, more vulnerable. And a lot of times dreams actually are not just dreams. Dreams can be messages. Dreams can be experiences and adventures that a loved one may come and take you on, or maybe astral projection might take place at that time because you're most relaxed and you're most open.
Yeah. Well, I 100% believe that I have communicated with him over the last
Oh
20
yeah,
years.
I absolutely believe it
Definitely.
too. Yes. And also another good point to point out too to anyone who wonders if they've ever astral projected in their sleep. If you're dreaming and you're dreaming that if you're seeing yourself completely as an extra viewer, um, then that's a dream. But if you're dreaming and you're experiencing your dream as your point of view, as you see in your everyday life and you're traveling, your point of view is just through your eyes. Like if you can look down and see your hands in your dream, that's more likely to be astral projection.
I
So
think I've done
that's a
that.
good way. That's a good way to tell the difference between a dream and an actual paranormal experience.
Yeah, I think I've actually done that before. Um,
Yeah, I'm sure you have. Many people have.
I
yeah.
just talked to someone today actually, who it was interesting because I do past lives and I go through a portal, and I've
Mm,
even brought back a code name before. And she told me that she goes on the astral at night and that she goes back in time. And
mm,
I thought
mm,
that was interesting as anything, because I
yeah,
always tell everybody, don't set limitations to all this. There aren't any,
right.
as to, I do readings for people all over the world. And people say that they can go out to other planets and stuff. So we need to kind of be open to see that.
Yeah, so I would be terrified, honestly. Like, imagine being on the rings of Saturn, thinking, "Am I going to get my own home?"
Well,
That would be.
I
That'd
I
be
want
pull
to
me.
stick to where I'm familiar with.
I pulled cards for you,
Yeah.
Jason, and
Okay.
you had the one I needed to see, the high priestess, to tell me that you have high psychic ability. And so we always, there's this great potential, and there's even more gifts that come, and on and on and on. So you're the real deal. I got a lot of stuff here, but I won't. I
Oh,
won't say everything.
oh, I would
But
love to hear. I would love to hear whether after the show or during or whatever. I would love to hear what you
sure.
have.
Well, there is some stuff about money, which is good, but I'll
Oh,
tell you that after this, after there. But when
okay.
I get that people are dreaming, and they are communicating at the other side, since I'm a reader, I get the moon card. And I'll go. I was just on a big podcast, and I said to the girl, I said, "So you're communicating with your dreams, right?" And she's going, "Yes, I do. And I just had one, and everything comes through, and I bring messages in and all that." So there's so many people that are getting that information. Yet also at night times, when we talk about 3 a.m., it's easier to communicate and that at that time and get the information. So your stories are so interesting as everything. I love it. I love all of this. Except for
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad you didn't do the mason jar thing. We do
Oh my.
we do
Oh
these
my.
stupid things even though we're psychic when we're young. I'm sorry, there's hormones, there's whatever, and there's, clueless
There is.
sometimes.
And
We just do stuff.
I actually wrote that experience down as a story and sent it off to a publication company, and they were going to publish it in a book with
Oh,
true life
wow.
stories about paranormal guardian angels and ghosts. And they're just trying to figure out, does it go on the ghost story or does it go on the guardian angel? And I said it's definitely a guardian angel.
Oh, yeah. That, all that protection, and
Yeah.
giving us the warnings. And I find that people have a psychic alarm, and mine has saved me, and when people coming to my house and I
Hmm.
go, "Oh, I knew it just hit me." And I knew everything that was going to happen so I could fast prepare. So I tell people to listen to their body.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I know you have some more in there. And by the way, your first story, that could actually be one of our mountain novellas. Some twists and turns in there.
I could definitely expand on it and make it that way.
Oh,
There it is.
yeah,
There it is. There's my
that is,
Katie and my Mel
yeah, that is.
and my Genevieve. Well, there's your Katie and your Mel and your Genevieve, I should say.
No, no, it's ours now. It's ours. Yeah,
Amazing, amazing characters, amazing story, Carrie. You did a wonderful job on that. I read
yeah.
it. I don't read books in one sitting. I read that in one sitting.
I I've had a lot of people say that, and the funny thing is that as you've been going with the beat sheets and with doing the story outline and stuff,
Hmm.
and the way that you've expanded, it's like you were in my head and in my heart when you expanded Genevieve and expanded Chris and expanded Katie and Mel's dynamic. It's like you captured every essence that I was afraid to put into the book. It's like you're bringing that to life for the screenplay. And I'll tell you, the screenplay is going to be uh, 100 times even better than the book. And I love my book. I love the book. But the things that we are adding to it are just so dynamic.
Well, I will say I've never written a screenplay adapted from someone else's book or story. I've always written screenplays from my ideas. So to hear the author of the book, whose screenplay from the screenplay that I'm adapting from, it's a great honor and a great privilege to hear you say that, and I'm very happy. That's one of the things that I was worried about, and I'm now relieved to hear you say that. When we discussed it, when you said the things that you said, I was like, whew, good, all right, I'm at ease now. I
No,
was nervous.
it's amazing because there's so many things that you've it's like what you did was you opened up this little box by my soul there, and you were able to pull out everything that I was afraid to put in, you know, and you've just Brandy, I have to let you see the beat sheets and how he's outlined it. Oh my God.
I
So
would love to see those.
Brandy did the editing with me. Um, and Debbie, and I think you guys are going to be shocked at how expanded and how just amazing. You're more invested in Genevieve. You're more invested in Chris. You have a an even stronger sense of um, what's that word I'm looking for Katie? You empathize with Katie even more. You grow to love her even
Well,
more.
I will say, and I don't want to give anything away with these characters that you've created. I felt when I was reading it, and then you contacted me about the screenplay, I thought Katie's been through a very dark time. She's been through a lot of scary things, and I just felt that her character deserved to have the characters of Genevieve and Chris around her more. Now, obviously, I don't want your viewers to know if she keeps a happy ending or if she gets a dark ending, if things shatter for her or if they don't. But I felt that for at least some part of the story, she deserved that contrast in her life.
Yes. Oh,
And
absolutely.
when you mentioned to me who you had in mind for Genevieve when I was doing the beat share, I thought, ooh, where can I, expand on this a little bit more, and where can I emphasize on this or enhance? So I don't want to. If you want to mention the name of the person you wanted to be Genevieve, that's fine, but I don't want to
Oh,
say
yeah,
anything.
I don't mind at all. My person that I envisioned as I was writing, the face that I saw when I dreamt, like I don't know if I've explained this to you guys before, but I sometimes I will dream a part of the book before I write it the next day. And I kept seeing over and over again the wonderful, beautiful, talented actress Melanie Kinnaman. And if any of you are horror film fans, you know her from Friday the 13th, Part 5. She's in a wonderful movie. I is it it's a like a series, isn't it? That she just started with
I
the
know
Civil War.
she's recently posted something that she is involved
Yeah,
in that
and
was pretty
but
big.
sh
Yeah.
yeah, but she's amazing. She's amazing,
Yeah.
and
So when I was writing the character Genevieve, I kept thinking, I wanted to write it that was in a way that was true to the character that you created, but I also and also what we had discussed, how you love Melanie Kinnaman and would love for her to have a bigger part. So with that in mind, I thought, where would you fit into the story that would be organic and make sense and not forced to just to expand her part. So I thought just the relationship between her and Katie was, the best way to do it. A little history. I mean, the
oh
two characters, there's no reason why they couldn't be enhanced because of their relationship.
yeah, I honestly, hi Carlos, I can't wait until we have the screenplay completed. I would love to.
Hi,
Oh, there's
Carlos.
Carlos.
Hi, Carlos.
I would love to have the screenplay completed, and then maybe give people certain, get pick out a select number of people from maybe from the podcast or something,
Hmm.
viewers, and let them hear, do a podcast where we read off both of the endings and let them pick what they want to happen to Katie.
Yes, because and again, not to give any spoilers away with what we have so far. I know rewrites are imminent; they always are. But right now, where we stand, there's an ending that is more suitable to the book, and there's an ending where I thought maybe she may deserve a different ending, something a little more happy,
I,
like a
Yes.
happy
I know
ending in
which
any
way I'm
genre.
leaning towards. That's all I'm
Yeah,
going to say.
yeah.
We truly had we're so happy for you, Kara. We really, Brandy and I, we're just so honored to when we it was the first thing that we did when we all paranormal came in, the spiritual part came in and put us all together. And it really got for me got me to know about writing and all of that and working together, and it's a fabulous book. And I feel like these people are just God is giving these people to us left and right, and here we're going to put this in your lap. So congratulations,
And look,
and it's going to
I'd
be
also
great.
I'd also like to say a lot of people may not realize when they're reading this book, Kara wrote this book and had it edited and published in such a speed that is it's unheard of for a book of this caliber. I mean, the story and the writing and the characters and everything in this book was so good that when you told me how fast this book was written, I thought, my God, I can't even write 3 chapters in 6 months. How do you do a whole book that fast?
Oh, yeah.
Kara, tell him about these.
uh,
How fast? The
the
timing.
the past lives of Deborah O'Hara, Portals Through Time, the first book in the series, that was done, edited, and published within 5 weeks.
That is crazy. That is crazy good. That is so
Uh,
cool. That is
yeah.
amazing.
Uh, the Karma at Karnak Court was about 5.5 weeks. The only reason that the third book took longer is I was down for a good almost 2 months with the COVID cough, with the COVID fog. I could not function. But once I was over it, we got that one done in about 3 weeks.
Right.
Let me tell you, she keeps me on my toes and my daughter on her toes with the designs and the pictures and the
It's
editing. And
beautiful. It's very beautiful.
we have
That
to work at top speed for her.
that illustrated the covers are beautiful.
It's really
In
great.
5 weeks, I can't even get Fade in exterior day cabin written in 5 weeks to start a screenplay.
I, I don't know what it is. I told Debbie sometimes it's just weird. I will go to sleep and all of a sudden, like it's like I'm inside the book. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm walking through the rooms that I'm describing,
Yeah.
or I'm cooking the food that I'm describing in the book, which our books, I mean, they make you hungry.
Yes,
Book,
she
book,
that is all Cara. It's the food, and people go, "Now I'm hungry. Now I need to eat." But
yeah,
it's almost flawless how things flow. When we'd be late at night and we have this big time thing between Brandy and Cara and I, and distance, and we just start talking, and we'll just the whole story comes out. We have storyboards for like what 20 more books or something, but it
yeah.
just goes. It
She,
just
she'll have
goes
them
so
all
fast.
written by the end of 2023, I'm sure.
I
I
honestly,
think so.
I
I
don't
think
know
she
about the
could.
editing though. I'm only so
I,
fast.
I honestly
Brandy,
think,
thank you.
see, and I'm kind of going crazy now too, because when we were talking about, I've had some books that I had already started, like The Shadows of Satan, and for some reason I have this weird thing about mountains. So all the other books that I had started all deal with something happening horrible in the mountains,
And
and
I,
so in tandem with this book series, I want to get those novellas down, because the novellas, is a lot less pages for a novella, and then do what you and I talked about, bringing them all together in a final novella. I love
yeah,
that idea. And I've even thought about some mountains, maybe not in the United States, that can be where some of our characters can settle and have
yeah.
some
And
supernatural things happen.
All I
what
gotta
other,
say
what,
is, let me know when I need to have my cup of coffee ready. So when you need somebody to talk to you and get you out of a writer's block, I'm good to go.
your Starbucks double shot mocha?
It's
Or
something.
sweet tea
Yep,
for
it's sweet
Brandy.
tea. See, Debbie knows me. Sweet tea.
I have sent her sweet tea
Yep.
from you know uh messaged
I'm I'm
here.
I'm still a
Drink.
Southern girl at heart. Gotta have my sweet tea.
I
Well,
love sweet tea too. The
Jason,
sweeter the
I hope
better.
you read the past lives of Deborah O'Hara.
Oh,
And now all the magic in there, all the paranormal stuff, the seances, and the readings are real. They're true
hmm,
stories. And
nice.
so, know that along with Kara's amazing memory and
Yeah,
history stuff, we are very high, maybe not high 90 percentile of being true historical facts in there.
yeah, that's what she was saying. And what
Yeah.
better place to set something supernatural than surrounded by mountains? Because that you're cut off. You're isolated. And there's nowhere to go or anything you can do.
Oh, absolutely. And now, did you have one more story for us, or?
I mean, there's a I planned those two, but I do have another one, the story of Farmer John. When
Oh,
I moved into Wayne when I was, let's see, I was in fifth grade, so 9 years old. Um, I'm sorry, I was reading what was on there. I was about nine. We moved to Wayne. My very first night in the apartment, my bedroom door opened just a little bit, and I saw this dark, Debbie, you mentioned shadow people earlier. I saw this shadow figure standing outside my bedroom door, and it came into my room, and it was standing next to my bed. And the next thing I know, my dresser was moving. I thought, okay, this isn't really happening because this doesn't happen. Now, when you're 9 years old, and you've not seen anything like this before,
oh
I
no.
just I put the blanket over my head. I closed my eyes, and I fell asleep because there was no more sound. When I woke up the next morning, my dresser was pushed flush against my bed, and I literally had to climb down to the foot of my bed and out. And I never anything like that has ever since happened. It was a one-time deal where they were able to move something that heavy. But it was enough to start making me realize, okay, there's some things going on here that aren't explainable and that aren't natural and that are supernatural, if you will. Um, Shortly after that, I saw a farmer, and he didn't have a name at the time, but he was with a little girl with braids. It looked like, kind of a Laura Ingalls, kind of Mr. Edwards kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And I saw the gentleman several times. I only saw the little girl with him with the braids once. Um, Through the years, as I'm living in this place, he made many appearances. Always the same guy wearing, overalls and coveralls, however you call
Oh
them.
yeah.
But eventually, my friends started to see him, My mother saw him once. My family started seeing him. Visitors would come over. I had a friend who was Wiccan, and she was into to white witchcraft, and she studied the arts, and she told me about him. She's the one who dubbed him Farmer John, and that's where his name
Wow.
kind of stuck from that. And I eventually moved out of that apartment, and a mother and her young child moved into this apartment. He was probably about 6 years old, and the mother would be sleeping in her room, which shared a wall, and she would hear him talking and laughing, and one night she would hear a stranger's voice, so she bolted into his room thinking that there was a stranger there. The window was open, the curtains were billowing, and her son was sitting on the floor by himself playing with his toys, and she said, "Who are you talking to?" And the little boy said, "Farmer John." So I thought, wow, and these things started happening. She said she would be like in the bathroom and things would move. She'd be in the kitchen and things would move. And she never really thought about it again until she um, went in there to his bedroom one day, and she looked out the window and she saw him staring in from the outside. And she described him as Farmer John the way same. So there's this gentleman named Farmer John who lives in Wayne at 5500 William Street, apartment 24. If you're watching this in Wayne and you know that apartment, say hi to Farmer John for me. But but last time I heard from people who have lived there all these years later, there's still some strange disturbances, and people still talk about Farmer John
Oh
in
wow.
that apartment building. Yeah.
Yeah, that that is definitely creepy. Now,
Oh, and and I'm sorry to interrupt you, and I totally
man,
forgot about this. Like I said, I didn't prepare this, but I met my fiance, who was my fiance at the time. I ended up going to live with her at her grandmother's house at one time, and Farmer John had come followed me, and I totally forgot about this. I haven't thought about this in such a long time. My future brother-in-law comes running down out of his room, and he tells me that there was a man standing up there, and he described Farmer John. And then another with my wife's cousin, who said that she was watching television, and like I had saw a reflection of the guy with the hatchet. She had seen a reflection of Farmer John, and she described him. So, and these are also people who had once been in that apartment building. So he was kind of, I don't know if a human can be a conduit. I know it's usually an inanimate object, but somehow, somewhere, he was able to keep his tabs on us. But his main home was always the apartment.
see, and it sounds like he's a good spirit too. It's not like he's out to
Yeah,
harm anybody.
there was never anything terrifying or scary. It was just the fact that, why was he there? We never knew. Why
Yeah,
he was connected to that place, we never knew. His appearance and the way he was dressed definitely predated the year the building was made. So I don't know if maybe there was something that was in that spot before, or, that he was connected to, or maybe there was, I don't know.
maybe he was tied to that for some reason. You never know.
Perhaps, but I did find out through my Wiccan friend who was there that there was a portal in my bedroom closet. The spirits can come and go, and she took me in my closet one time, and she said, "There's a portal in here. Your spirits can come and go through here." And she says, "And I want you to feel this." And it was warm, and she said, "Put your hand to the right and you'll feel," and it was like putting my hand in a refrigerator. You can literally feel the cold
Oh
where
wow.
the temperature dropped. She goes, "That's where they're coming in through here." So do I sleep with my closet door open after that? Yes. And to this day I cannot sleep with an open closet door. I don't know if it has anything to do with that or just too many horror films, but my door has got to be closed completely or
I'm
I'm not
thinking
sleeping.
it's a combination, I think.
Could be.
No, we're gonna recap our fact or fiction for everybody, and hopefully Jenna is nice and quiet because she's coming to join her Gigi. Our fact and fiction tonight took place in the 1920s with a schoolhouse that serviced uh, two farming communities and had about 400, yes, had about 400 children that attended this school that was kindergarten through eighth grade. And one day after lunch, there was uh, a fire that the first floor, the children kindergarten through third could get out, but the children on the second and third floors, um, most of them perished in the fire. Now, when they rebuilt the school, took it down to the studs and rebuilt it. Children on the second and third floors who attended the school after that They saw ghosts. They felt they were being touched. Lights would go on and off. Um, there were some creepy apparitions that would point to the exits to the stairs. Um, there were just so many things that eventually the school closed and they had to tear it down and rebuild a completely new school because children and teachers didn't want to be in that school anymore. There was just too much residual hauntings of all of the people, over 200, that had died. So that is my fact or fiction recap from earlier. And you can vote and see if you think that is fact or if it is fiction. So are we seeing any guesses? Now I know we had several that said that it was true. Brandy, you still haven't given your vote.
I'm gonna say fiction tonight.
You're gonna say fiction. Helen
Yeah.
says fact.
I agree with
Debbie,
Helen.
what are you saying?
I always go opposite. Let's see. I'll say it's true.
Okay. And Jason, you already said you thought it was true.
Yes,
So
I think
let's
it's true.
see. I think we're gonna go ahead and I'm going to tell you. The story is completely made up.
Ah, yes.
Oh,
Um, I will say that being from Chicago, I always have to mention my Chi-town. Um, the reason that schools today have fire escapes and fire drills and fire extinguishers and sprinkler systems and things um, is because of the City of Angels fire that took place in Chicago in the 1950s. Not as many people died as what the story I gave tonight, and there weren't any reported hauntings at the school when it was rebuilt, but they did have. Thank you, honey. They did have a mother who saw her son outside the school while the school was on fire, and they were trying to rescue the children on the second and third floors, and she saw him walking towards home, but when she got home he wasn't there, and then they got the call that his body was in the morgue. He never left this, he never got out of his classroom. She saw his ghost walk away. So I kind of took a little bit of the history in my head and I created a really good story for everybody. And I am so glad that you guys liked it, and I'm so glad that I was able to fool you.
I always go
there's
opposite. I'm always wrong. I always
see
go
there's
opposite everybody.
so Helen, you and I could say that technically there was a little bit of truth behind it. We weren't completely wrong.
That is
Yeah,
true.
there you
There was
go.
a little bit of truth behind it, but it was mostly in my head. Yeah.
Okay, if anybody did get it right, just go to psychicfixes at Gmail and I'll send you a wonderful hell note.
I get a hell note, right? Because I got it right.
Yes, you
I'll
did.
send you a hell note. They're fun to have, and so a little bit of money for the dead. I'll send you a hell note if you got it right, and next week we'll try it again.
Absolutely. And I think next week Brandy has volunteered to be our fact or fiction.
Oh, yay. I love doing those.
And I have so enjoyed having you on, Jason. It has been great. Is Jason frozen? Uh-oh.
Either he's
A little bit.
frozen or he's making a really cool expression.
I think he's frozen.
There we
There
go.
he is.
There you are.
There he is.
There we are.
And I want everyone to please go to iHeartRadio and Pandora and Radio Amazon. I want you to look up Terror Express.
And
You
I also
have
have I also have a YouTube channel, The Terror Express, and
yes.
I have Buddy Cooper of the Mutilator from 1983, the Holy Grail of horror films, coming on next week.
Oh
We'll talk
wow.
about the Mutilator and the sequel, The Mutilator 2, coming out, and I also have
Really?
Lauren Marie Taylor, who played Vicky from Friday the 13th Part 2, booked for December. So come subscribe, and I have 20-minute, 25-minute express episodes, and my subscribers have access to the full interview, which
Yeah.
can
I
go
will
for an
say,
hour, 2
Lauren,
hours.
I can't wait to see the Lauren Marie Taylor one because I fangirled when I was about 14 or 15 when she was at a mall promoting a soap opera she was on, and I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
how was that death scene?
She
How
was
was it getting killed by Jason? And she's there
she
talking
was
about
my first crush. I had a crush on Vicky when I was very young, and I told her, and she thought it was cute. And she got to show me her brown panties, and
I
yeah, so I look forward
always
to
thought she
seeing the
looked better
both.
in the black panties,
Yeah,
but
I did too. I always wondered why she changed. She was better in the black. I agree. I agree.
definitely.
Mhm.
It's funny how you and I have the same
There's
same
just
crush.
nothing really sexy about brown. It's red, black, purple. I can see, but brown.
Yeah, I think they got it wrong. They
At
should
least
have
they
had
were.
her in
At
the
least they
brown
were silk.
ones.
At least they were silk.
Yes, but they should have had her in the brown ones, and they should have switched it to black. I
I
just,
agree.
just
I
saying,
agree. Yep,
just, just saying.
I agree.
But yeah, look at you, little one. But yeah, I am so excited. People, please go check out his show and subscribe. It is wonderful, and and the interviews are so much fun to do. He interviewed me. I enjoyed it so much that hopefully I do it again. But yes, he is, like I said, he's on YouTube. He's on.
And we also talk to these horror celebrities about real life supernatural experiences that they've had. So it's every episode we'll talk about that as well. So it's
I
a little
love
bit of
Deborah
behind the scenes, and
Voorhees.
she's been on
Deborah's
my show. Yes, I've had
her
her on.
fun
She's
one about the page that came down from the ceiling. Oh my gosh, that was a great story.
yeah, she's great. I love Deborah. She's great.
But
Okay, you guys. Let's see how much time we have. Only a couple minutes left, and I just love. We love ghost stories. We love these paranormal encounters. Um, did anything ever really scare the pants off of you, Jason?
yeah,
Besides the
Um,
eyeballs possibly being in a mason jar.
No,
I
that
no,
that
that
wasn't
was pretty
paranormal. That
scary.
was a person.
That
No,
was pretty
anything
scary.
paranormal scare you?
I remember I went camping in the late 80s, and we were walking through the woods, and we found this house that had been demolished, and there was a sign that said Satan's Cellar, and the basement was still there. And I remember the sense of dread and fear that I got from there. I knew that it was a place I didn't want to be. Every hair stood up. Like you said, Debbie, earlier, you get these warnings, these vibes, and mine was in full force. Mine was telling me, turn around and get out of there. You want nothing to do with this place because it's not good. And it's definitely otherworldly, not good. So I never returned to Satan's Cellar, but have also never forgotten about it.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you have to go with that mine is a vibration.
Hmm.
And I always tell everybody when they're with me because I'm in charge of the protection for everybody.
Hmm.
And I say, if I ever run, you better be
Run.
right there
You
with
better
me
be right there with me. Yes. I
because
did
I'm not a
babysit once. And I'm sorry, I
uh-huh.
forgot about this too because I
Sure.
babysat once, and the back door had a glass window on there, and I looked out, and how often do you see a demon staring? If I saw a demon
Oh
Oh,
shoot.
staring in with literally the red eyes, and it had like a pig nose almost. It looked, but he was there staring at me, and that was terrifying too. I still.
I have a friend who was born with the veil. I mean, we all, I think,
Mhm.
know what that meant. And she was very psychic. And she has that discernment of spirits, meaning she can see the demons. And what you just said is what she sees. And she says, they're
Ugh.
among us, they're walking among us, and
That's the only
people
one
don't
I've ever
see it,
seen.
but
Thank
she
God.
can.
That's the only one I've ever seen
Yeah.
that I know
I
of.
don't really wanna do it either.
No,
But,
I wouldn't want to see
this
that
is,
again.
what I'm taught. To protect
Hmm.
from that higher thing, because there's so many people, the airy fairy people, thank you, bless you, you're wonderful, but they go like, "There's nothing dark, it's all
Right.
angels," and I'm like, "Well,
No, it's not.
that's
you
why
know,
I
No, my
carry Saint
daughter's
Benedict."
my daughter is psychic too, and she explained how you said that the different levels, that there's energy
Yep,
levels, and for us
yep,
to see, we have to be frequency on the same level. So that makes sense when she did
and
yeah.
say
and the
that.
funny thing is too is they always say that the demon that you described, you should be able to find that name of that demon because
I,
they each have distinct characteristics.
I think I'm better not knowing. He was terrifying. I don't think I'd want to, like
I
right now.
don't
Does he
think
know
that
him?
you really wanna yell
Is
out
I
their
don't think
name
you want
either.
to.
no,
Not saying you would.
is my star lit up right now? Does that demon know that I'm talking about him the way that those who look over us know? I don't want to give him any
Yeah,
Yeah, no, no.
yeah.
no revisit.
No. No, yeah, there's all kinds of things, and that's where we talk about the comfort level. If you're comfortable just thinking that there's angels, go for it. But I know that there's other stages and other things. There's some
Absolutely.
things that we can't even deal with. That would be more of an
Absolutely.
archangel, step
Right.
in.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you, Jason, this is Genevieve.
Hello, Genevieve.
And she's also, as far as she's concerned, she's engaged to Jason Voorhees and Michael
She is
Myers, but she's going to divorce
moving
Michael
on.
to marry
Well,
Jason.
Jenna, you have very good taste in men.
Thank you.
Any
I do
any
want.
man who loves any man who loves his mother is definitely a good catch.
There you go.
Exactly.
I did want to say for everybody that's watching, on the whole, when you meet spirits and stuff, they're fine. They're not anything to be afraid of. So, want to add that. You guys, it's time for us to go. We're 1 minute over. And Brandy, you're so wonderful. I miss being with you on nights. We got to get back together.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Kara, go ahead and you can end the show.
Okay. Please check out our books, the book series, The Past Lives of Deborah O'Hara, and also my book, The Shadows of Satan.
Very
And
good.
I want to thank Jason for an amazing show. I have loved your stories. I love working with you. I love everything about our friendship as we're traveling this journey together. And I look forward to any time that you're available. If you want to come back on and do some spooky stuff with us, we would
Oh,
love
I'd
it.
love to. I will get some more stories together.
Oh yes, and
I have so
thank
many.
you, thank you everyone for joining us. Jason, if you want to say goodbye to everybody and then stay on after we end the show.
Yeah, yeah. Just remember the spirits are a color we can't see. If you want to see them, just learn how to see that color. Keep that in mind and have a wonderful evening.
Yes.
Bye. Bye,
Everybody.
everybody.
Bye.